Hey, all, Pastor Emil here. Another episode of Sweet Jesus. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is far sweeter. He is sweeter than any of the political ideas or hopes or dreams that we may have. And I'm excited because I get to be together with Mike again here. And it's St. Patrick's Day. I'm not sure how that will play into our conversation, but it is the day we're recording this, and I'm not wearing green. I feel bad. But
Me neither.
turns out, if you do a little research, actually blue was the color of Ireland. I don't know how they got green eventually. But anyway, here we are. And if you've had a chance to catch up with us, you know a little bit about Mike's story and his struggles and the kind of relief and peace that Jesus brought into his life. You are had a little time maybe in the last time we got together to hear both of our stories, kind of coming from different political backgrounds or some overlap actually, but some different perspectives for sure. But yet also recognizing that, man, the more we monitor politics, the more we are drawn into it, the more we see so many inconsistencies, we see so many things that are accepted that shouldn't be accepted on either side, both sides, and the more stress it adds to our lives, almost like an addiction. And so that's how we kind of got started together on this project. It started out with this idea for Christopublicrats, so Jesus Christ. Publicrats is Republicans, Democrats. The idea with that is that essentially, you know, you can find Jesus in both of the major parties in America. You can find it in the people. You can find it in the various desires that people in those groups have. But ultimately, Jesus first, politics second. Jesus Christ, Democrat, Republican, second. And if we can do that in our own lives, we'll be a lot better for it. But so will the people around us. So will our politics. It'll be a lot better. Our political discourse, we would hope. But that's sort of how we got started here. And we really aren't sure exactly where to start. We could yell and scream at each other, and that would probably be great for the algorithm. But that's not really what we want to do. We want to bring people together. We want to have dialogue and conversation and find common ground. That was what we looked at last time, that short that we kind of reacted to a little bit, that we're really not all that different. Most of us just want the most basic things for ourselves and our families. And there's a lot of division that's propagated by the algorithms and by the news outlets and just so much going on in our world. We really need to be grounded more firmly in Christ, in Jesus, our faith in Jesus, and then hopefully all those other things will start to sort themselves out. Is that a fair characterization of how we got here and why we're doing what we're doing?
Yeah, in our research, there really aren't any other shows like this, and that's probably why.
Yeah. Yes.
So people always complain like there's no good things on TV, or there's no. Not saying that ours is good, but like the Stephen Colbert show, for instance, like everybody's up in arms, like that was good. Like I don't think it should have been canceled or whatever. I don't want to get into that. But anyway, like I wasn't watching that show. Like those kind of shows don't really do that well anymore. And I didn't even think his commentary or jokes about Trump were that funny after a while. It was more just seemed kind of like he's just going to tell jokes about Trump. And like Johnny Carson, like like no one really knew if he was a Democrat or Republican. He would just kind of make fun of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're kind of. I guess we're not. We're kind of past that now. But
yeah, that's
yeah,
where
I don't know where.
I think Bill Maher is picking up a lot of the various audiences, because Bill Maher is more than willing to go after anyone and everyone, and it's pretty refreshing actually to hear some of his things, and because you hear things from him that you wouldn't expect to hear from liberals, because he's a self-professed liberal, because you hear things that resonate with you if you're a conservative, you're actually listening a little more when he starts to talk about conservatives and Trump. And actually, there's a Sam Harris conversation he and Sam Harris are having on his Club Random podcast, and they're having this debate about, like, I think Sam Harris was trying to be, dialed back a little bit, but he was essentially, I think, trying to get Bill to admit that when Bill Maher went to go have dinner with Donald Trump, that it did not have the effect he intended. And he stopped short of sort of saying, Bill, you should admit you're wrong and that you actually set our cause back. And Bill, to his credit, doubled down. He's like, no, it was the right thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he still hates my guts, and he's still
Yeah.
saying all these things, which just proves that I didn't bow the knee. Like, I didn't pull any punches. I went in there and I said what I said, and I was who I am. And, the fact that he's going after me now just shows you that, I can't be bought. I can't be, right? And that, like, a principled approach by someone who will take out both of his, his team and the other team, where is that?
Yeah, that's where it does kind of seem like show business. Like it's like professional wrestling.
Yeah.
We have a kind of image to maintain, because like I know like Mom Donnie like went to meet with Trump, and then Trump like made a joke like they asked, do you remember they asked him like something that was kind of, do you stand by, they asked Mom Donnie, do you stand by this criticism of Trump that you made? And Trump was like, you can stand by it. It's okay.
Yeah. Because, there's an expression, right? Like, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Right? I mean,
yeah.
Trump was wise and Mamdani was wise to have that interaction, and I think it does also play into people's general sense that politicians are basically all scum, they're all evil, they're all the same, they're all right, and they do these performative kinds of things. I think Bill Maher's a little different because he's not actually a politician. He's a political commentator. He's a comedian. He's show business, But for so long, we've had people that just will completely write you off if you hold certain opinions. And I don't think that's good. I did another podcast. I don't know how long ago I did this. I know I saw the short pop up recently on my page, my channel here. And it was about this research done by a guy named John Gottman. He's a psychologist. He and his wife had a place in, I think, the Northwest somewhere where they were studying marriage, basically. And they got to the point where they could predict with something like 95% accuracy.
Yeah, my counselor loves that guy.
Yeah, whether or not people would stay married or be married in 5 years. And it all came down to the most basic thing. He calls them bids, emotional bids, where you are just essentially constantly in this bid for emotional connection with your partner. And if you reach out to them somehow, you just walk into the house at the end of the day and say, oh, hey, honey, now you've reached out. They have an opportunity to respond, and they can respond in one of three ways. One of them is to turn toward you. That's the phrase they use, where, okay, hey, hi, honey. And they turn around and say, oh, hey, how was your day, right? You're turning toward, you're engaging, you're responding, and you're saying, I'd like to build on our emotional connection. The other way you can respond is you can turn away. Turning away is You just basically ignore them, right? The third way you can respond is turning against. That's very combative, where you say, hey, honey, how was your day? What the hell do you care? Blah, 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 blah. You just screaming like, well, if you'd have done your job, I wouldn't have had to trip over the bike in the driveway on my way into the house, and you just start arguing about something. If you have a majority of turn towards, maybe not majority, there's a certain level of if your interactions trend in that direction, you're going to stay together. You're going to be fine. If you're combative, you're not likely to stay married for very long. But actually, you will stay married a lot longer than if you turn away. Where if you don't actually have any engagement, no interaction, you're essentially dissolving the relationship, and that ends a relationship far faster. So if we bridge that to politics, if we're not talking to one another, eventually we just don't have relationships with one another, or we only have relationships with those who are in our tribe. And if that's all we do, man, tribalism is a terrible world to live in. Like pure, straight up tribalism, bad news. And that's when things, the other side is no longer human, no longer in need of common decency. They are the problem. We just have to stop the problem. We can take them out. We can all kinds of things. So, yeah. If you does that resonate with you at all? Does that make sense? You're seeing that,
if
or
yeah, there's a director of like Japanese anime movies, Miyazaki, and his first movie was the only movie that had this plot where basically you had a bad guy like Darth Vader, and then the solution to the movie was to kill Darth Vader, and then it was happily ever after. And then he said he didn't want to do any of those more of those kind of movies because he's like there's nothing like that in the real world. Like all of his subsequent movies, like especially like Princess Mononoke, and like it was these very complicated interconnected systems of people that had different reasons for doing things and different values or different ways they weighted things differently, and they were each right in their own way, but they couldn't see the other side. So it eventually would come to this like great battle, but there wasn't ever really a winner. It was more just like a tragedy.
yeah, I'm not sure who's winning. I think it's not good, and we need Jesus. We actually are working on a book on political addiction, or overcoming the toxicity of being overly connected and overly involved in the political drama that has become everyday life. I mean, there's literally always something. And so we're looking to maybe test some of those ideas here, see if there's anybody interested, maybe get some kind of group together. But for us, I know when I was going through some of the drafts, it was a reminder to me, like, hey, Jesus, remember Jesus. Jesus is the one sitting at the right hand of God, ruling and reigning right now. Jesus is bigger than all this. Jesus has a way of bringing good out of things, even this. In fact, actually, so that's the connection to St. Paddy's Day. There you go. St. Patrick, who's actually not Irish, believe it or not, he was captured and enslaved and brought to Ireland to work as a a shepherd as a slave, right? Sheep, hogs, something, various animals out in the wild. And I believe his conversion to Christianity, he was raised by, I think, at least one Christian parent, possibly both. And it's out in the fields with the animals, in the quiet, in the isolation, in the hunger, and in the difficulty. I mean, this is the least popular job ever. That's why they had to enslave people to do this, And it's out there where he's praying like 100 times a day that he encounters Christ and becomes a Christian. He is then miraculously able to escape. God provides a miraculous path for him to get out of slavery in Ireland, and who then works on him while he is home in Britain, so much so that this man goes back to Ireland to evangelize Ireland, and he transforms the entire nation. Something meant for evil can turn around for good.
Yes, speaking of like the travel, like my dad told me about, like, because we're somewhat Irish. Like my dad's like half Irish. Like my dad really likes St. Francis, or no, St. Patrick, and he said that like he, when he went back, like he wore their makeup and stuff, and like he like ingrained, he like, it's not ingrained, it's another word, embedded himself, yeah, like with the local population, and he didn't try to change anything or say anything. He just became one of them, and then once he was like part of them, then he could start to talk about certain little things, and like like that's pretty much the opposite of what we try to do.
Yeah. Well, but that's why most Christians are not actually reaching the lost. Tim Keller, by far the greatest modern missionary and apologist, even more so than C.S. Lewis, because Tim Keller was able to translate C.S. Lewis into modern, for modern minds.
Yeah, right.
Or at least grab the snippets, because sometimes people read C.S. Lewis and he's got long sentences and very in-depth approaches to things, and he's building slowly, and then bam, Tim Keller is able to sort of take that stuff out. But what he talked about, and I think this is helpful for politics, political discussions as well. We don't do this. What Tim Keller wanted to do, and what he encouraged people to do in his preaching, was that you can't just come at somebody and say, here's what you need to believe. The best way to do it is to understand them, like you're talking about St. Patrick, understand their values, and then get into their worldview, that you understand it. So this is like steel manning, right? So rather than a straw man, a steel man, where you make their argument as clearly as possible to their satisfaction, that they're saying, yeah, that's what I believe. That's how I look at the world. That's what I've learned. That's what I know. And then once you're in that, then you use that framework as the path towards the gospel, right? You don't say, well, what you believe about that is wrong. Oh, you're a Buddhist. Oh, you're a Muslim. Oh, you're this, you're that, whatever. You're wrong, and here's why. Here's why we're right, and you're wrong. No, he'd say...
That's called presuppositional apologetics. Like basically you throw bricks until you pummel them on the ground, and then you can pick them up and put them on a stretcher, take them to the hospital, and they'll become a church member.
It's not very successful in a very independent world. But he would say, like, because he did have a path towards Christianity. He was sort of raised in churches and then sort of wandered from that, and then was in college in the 60s and had all kinds of different opportunities, and he studied all different kinds of religions, and he was sort of attracted to some of them for various reasons, but then ultimately he he met Jesus in a way that was not just in a textbook, not just on a set of doctrines. It was like, Jesus is real to me. I believe in Jesus. He makes the most sense also. But he would say, like, oh, there are things in Buddhism that are true and that are good. Just because
Yeah,
somebody's wrong.
they have a very advanced idea of sin and suffering, like probably better than most Christian denominations.
Yes, and that it's suffering is ultimately about desire, right? Which I think we could characterize as like idolatry, right?
Yeah,
We want something, and this thing is promising to deliver it to us, but then it ultimately causes us pain because, yeah. But so that's one example. But Buddhism, okay, there's some really good things in Buddhism, but is Buddhism ultimate truth? Does it contain all the truth, or does it contain the kind of truth that saves? And ultimately, he would say no, but he would approach it from that and use something from within Buddhism to wind his way back to Jesus, to help someone from their own worldview. So we both agree, maybe, or maybe we don't even have to both agree. Let me take what you said you believe about this, and let's take that and let's keep pressing it, and let's keep pressing it, let's keep pressing it until all of a sudden we go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Not got pummeled by the bricks until they submit. Uh, and political discussions they're the same problem, right? We just say, no, you're an idiot because you supported this person. No, you're an idiot because clearly you don't believe in freedom, or you don't believe in accountability for government, or you don't believe in accountability for people, law and order, or something like that. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying exactly. Find out what they value and then use what they value to make your point. Use what they have told you already that they believe is true about themselves, about the world, about government and politics in America, and then use that as the yellow brick road towards some level of agreement, or at least not hating each other's guts.
yeah. That like the commentators, like it would be nice if they did it, like if they disagreed with something, to like come out and say, this is why I have objections to this. It's like a moral objection, but then like not like say that the person's bad, but and then if there was something else that the person did that they liked, then say like, okay, I did like this, and I think that's a good idea, and I feel like they're doing a good job on that. And like it's very personal. It's like if if it's like this is just a guy, like he's like whoever's in there is just a guy. Like
Yeah.
they're not God, you know.
There are very few people I've found that do anything close to that. There's this guy, Kaizen, Kaizen. That's Kaizen. He's got a great, what do they call it? A course or academy,
Yeah,
Clear Thinker Academy. And he goes through all these different elements to debate and discussion and arguments. And I mean, really, we are just at the most basic level. We are so ignorant and uneducated as people, so driven by emotion now in a way that I don't think has been seen in a couple of generations. I mean, we're always,
yeah. Social media is very it's a failed social experiment.
yeah, it's definitely not good. But that's what people do when they don't have a good argument, or they don't understand how to make an argument, or they're not trying to make the argument to make the other person a teammate. They're trying to conquer an enemy, right? That's all they're trying to do. They're not trying to win someone to their cause. And that's a bad place to be. And I don't think there's one side that is innocent of this. I think they're all guilty of this. This is about conquest. It's not about winning people to the side, right? Or to the opinion, which ultimately makes your opinions pretty weak, because if you have to engage somebody who's actually smart and gifted at debate and is a good thinker, they're going to challenge you and poke holes in it,
Right.
right? And so when people avoid having conversations with people who are going to ask tough questions and make it difficult for them,
Yeah, you lose your your tolerance to be disagreed with. Like it, like you get like triggered really easy.
yes, yes, it's
Like the person didn't even say anything that bad, and you're just like freaking out.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're in a not great place as far as that goes. We need more people like this guy Kaizen, and there are a few others. You've sent me a couple of reels that seem to be pretty.
Yeah.
They're willing to attack. Maybe not attack is the wrong word. Again, we're trying to be civil, but
Yeah. Just
people
talk
that are,
about things.
yeah, they're willing to talk about things and they're willing to say like, yeah, Gavin Newsom is slimy, even if I'm a liberal. Like
Yeah.
that.
Like yeah, we're like I'm more part of like the lefty party, like the lefty side of the Democrats. So like we don't like Gavin Newsom, like we don't like Amy Klobuchar or like any of them because like we feel like they are like professional wrestlers that are basically paid to lose and then say, "Oh my goodness, these other guys are terrible. They're destroying America, but we could do something about it, but not really."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah. No, it's sad. There's a lot of that. I think what liberals may not realize is that I think there are a lot more people on the right like that than you realize or than you think. Like
yeah,
with Donald Trump, I mean, I've had lots of conversations with people over the last, how many years has it been? 10 years now plus with him on the political scene. People like, yeah, I mean, he's just a Republican. He's conservative-ish, and he's probably going to win. But I mean, I don't really like him. I don't really, there's a lot of things I disagree with, and also the idea that he was sort of a response to what you just said about Gavin Newsom and Amy Klobuchar for the left, like
yeah,
the Bushes and
right,
the McCains and the Romneys
yeah,
and the whatever.
exactly,
They're just like these.
yeah,
We just can't beat them. It essentially gave America to the left for a generation or two or more.
right, yeah,
That
because
where
there's certain things we won't say. We don't want to look untoward, but yeah, it's weird. Like they'll all do it, but it's secret. Like they'll send out like a campaign flyer that they know is spurious or like unsubstantiated, but it'll be sent out by a group that is not completely affiliated with them. So then when like the press like says, "Hey, why'd you send this thing out?" Like, "Oh, I didn't send that thing out, but like it's a group that's clearly on their team."
plausible deniability.
Yes, yes.
Plausible deniability.
But like Trump was the first one where it was just like, "No, it's me." So for good and bad.
Well, there's
But at least you know what you're dealing with.
there's a Dave Chappelle clip from, I think, Saturday Night Live or somewhere. He's doing stand up maybe, and he is like, "Y'all want to know why Trump? I mean, when it just clicked for me, why this guy is going to be president?" And I think the moment I think he said was the debate with Hillary, where he says something like, "You better believe I'm taking all those tax advantages." And if you don't, you're stupid. As in, oh, and by the way, she's the one, her and her buddies and her husband are the ones who created these laws and rules. And I forget how he talks about it, Dave Chappelle, but he's like, He's just like, that's when it, like, he went gangster, man. Like, and everyone's like, oh, he just like pulled back the curtain. And
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
that's when he's like really, yeah, that's where he's like that. Yeah, that's what we like about Bernie too. Like where it's just like, yeah. Or where like what I don't like about Bernie is like Bernie has sort of like the liberal, I'm on a moral high horse kind of thing.
yeah.
Like Frederick Douglass can do that because he's Frederick Douglass, but like other people can't really do that.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not about some of the things that have
Yeah.
become the virtue signaling of our day.
Yes.
Um,
It's yeah, it's just like everybody's lame. Like when you get to know people, they're gonna disappoint you and like to act like you're superior or like you're, you know, it's unattainable standard and then you get kicked out of the group for like when you mess up.
yeah.
So, like it doesn't work.
Yeah. And, I know I've been racking my brain for a long time, last few months, but even longer than that. I would say going back to 2020 when I first really had, I talked a little bit about that last time where, I sort of had been sort of apolitical for a while. And then, my general tendencies probably are a little bit to the right. And then George Floyd, and then diving in on the left, and then just being horrified at the way that was all being unpacked right before my very eyes, and how I was mistreated and, shamed and, told how useless and unhelpful I was. Um, that sort of was like, all right, none of this is working. Neither side is working. And actually being a part of the system without some sort of definite plan doesn't help, because the system itself co-opts you. So if you either have to buy into one or the other, if you truly immerse yourself into the system. And back to St. Patrick, it was a good idea to do that, as long as he could still bring the outside truth into the system, right? That where he's like, okay, let me understand you completely.
Oh yeah, like he's not totally just like melting
Co-opted.
away.
Yeah, he is still a Christian in a pagan world, trying to bring the light of Christ to people that need it. And he was willing to immerse himself in it fully and yet not be corrupted by it, not be overwhelmed by it. He was still able to bring something to it. So that's a difficult balance, right? And I think until we have some sort of definite plan, which I'm still working on, racking my brain with, I think one of them for sure we've talked about, like, just wait 48 hours or 72 hours before you watch anything or react to anything that goes on. In fact, if you wait 48 hours, there will probably be something new to react to.
Yeah.
If you wait 72
Yeah.
hours, definitely. And by then, it will have made circulation long enough. The reason why it dies is because people start to catch on that, oh, the initial reporting was not right. It wasn't factual, or it wasn't fully factual. It was just a
Well,
piece of
like a
it.
lot of times it's like complicated. So like it it might be true that the person did something wrong, but it's hard to explain and it's even harder to prove. So it's like a lot of the stuff I would hear you guys complaining about Biden, like when I would hear it, I'd be like, maybe that's true, but like I don't know, I don't really understand it. And he's on my team, so I'm sure he didn't do anything wrong. So it's like
Exactly.
it's easy to blow it off, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And well, I trust him, and therefore it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I'm
Yeah, because that would be something I would ask people on Facebook when I was doing that was like, if Bernie did it, would you be okay with it? And I had to be honest, like if Bernie was doing this, I'd be okay with it. Because like I think I think for a lot of people, like myself included, like have lost so much faith in the regular political process
Mm.
because of the probably because of the filibuster. Like I like if they did do away with the filibuster, I think that would help. Where it's just like we're at a stalemate. They're never neither side's ever really going to be able to do anything. So we just need this like strong leader to come in and like just fix stuff. And so it's like we hated Trump, but it was like, well, yeah, we didn't hate the idea. Like if it was our guy, we'd love it. Like
Yeah.
that's what we want.
Well, and that's what at least the talking point is about why the filibuster still exists. Is like, well, what happens if the other side gets it? I mean, but then elections would matter.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
because I think that is setting up a dangerous situation where if it wasn't Trump, it would probably be somebody like Bernie or someone else. Where
the strong
like once
man.
people are like, yeah, like once people are like the Congress isn't going to do anything, then yeah, like and the courts aren't going to do anything. So then it's like, well, the only one we got left is the president.
Yeah. Yep. And the presidents these days, I mean, executive orders galore. Like, how is it
Yeah,
possible that you just sign a piece of paper and all of a sudden everything changes?
yeah, and then
And
like reconciliation was supposed to be for a certain thing, and now it's like could be used for almost anything. Like they basically can pass like 2 bills a year.
yeah,
It's
just
like,
pack it with all kinds of, well, and that's, I don't know how, I mean, Trump in his first day or two, how many executive orders did he sign? And how many of them were literally just overturning
yeah,
executive orders? And that's the thing
right.
that I don't know if people on the other side quite realized, aside from the auto pen. I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah,
gee,
that was funny.
I mean, he's got auto pen on the wall in the White House. Like, if you don't find that funny, you don't have a sense of
Yeah,
humor. And you
nah,
just,
yeah, that was fair.
uh,
Like we had a cadaver president for a year, I guess, and we tried to deny it. Like not like like the yeah, like we didn't like Biden either, really, but yeah, yeah,
and, Jake Tapper, the hero who uncovered the fact that he'd been covering up the fact that it's like these people, it's like if you believe anything from the media or a politician, like, I got a bridge to sell you. I do.
it's always justified by the other guy as an existential threat.
And that's not to say that they aren't, or at least couldn't be, but I mean, look at the narcissistic, self-congratulatory behavior of these people in the media. They're just, and those are the people that you trust for information. I mean, they're awful. They're terrible. And that's not to say that it's one side or the other. It's just,
Yeah,
don't just
like
believe this stuff.
I usually like the commentators, like even on Fox, like I like Brett Baer and like the ones that are just kind of doing more like it's like when you get into like the guy who's sitting in the chair is basically just like a referee, and then they throw it to like the guy who's only going to say bad things about Biden or bad things about Trump, and then they only going to say good things about, and they're just trying to like rock 'em sock 'em robots, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you don't really learn anything because even if they have an issue where you're trying to learn something, like if the one side feels like that's a weak issue for them, they'll like change the subject and then they just start fighting about something else. So you don't ever actually learn anything.
Because politics is all about power. And power doesn't care too much about truth. So if you have people involved in a game and a play for power that aren't guided by deeper principles, it gets ugly very fast. And I do think that as much as we may say we're a Christian nation, certainly founded upon, we are. I'm not saying we're not. I think we are,
Yeah,
but
like I think that's been overblown a little bit by like the nationalists, but yeah, like to a certain extent, yeah.
yeah, I only say that I'm not saying that
Yeah,
I believe we should be doing certain
right.
things because of that, but our founding fathers did speak about the need for a virtuous people, the need for people who were governed by higher moral principles, because in the end, you can't truly force an entire nation of people. Certainly, I mean, what is the population now compared to what the population was 250 years ago? Like, I mean, we got to
Yeah.
be what, a million times or what we were, or
I think we're like close to 400 million now. I'm not sure.
yeah, well, maybe 4 million back then. You know,
Yeah.
so it's just so much different. And how do you contain a people like that? I mean, it's basically people that have some vested interest in the way that things are, but also people that believe in something higher than government that says to them, "Hey, you know that's wrong. Hey, yeah, you could do this, but that's not really right. Um, hey, this may be easy now in the short term, but ultimately it's going to be worse in the long term." You know, and more and more we have people that are not truly governed by any kind of deep religious faith. And even the people that are the most religious today are not the most, uh, they are far less committed than 100 years ago, right? The
Yeah.
most committed Christian today in
Yeah.
America, the most committed churchgoer in my congregation or any of the congregations I've ever served, is not nearly close to the most committed Christian if you go back 100 years ago in, say, my congregation. It wasn't here 100 years ago, or any of the others. You know, it's just there's something different. We've been so distracted. We've been so co-opted
Well, yeah.
by
I mean, it's like
cultural
the
forces.
Laodicea. It's Laodicea church. It's like we're rich and have need of nothing, and but we're poor and gross and zombies walking around, and we think we're awesome.
Lukewarm, right?
Yeah, but I just I'm a little bit nervous, like because like specific like the founders were trying to because each state was like Maryland was the Catholics, and then they each had their own like so in some ways they were trying to get away from that. So it's like yeah, because there was all these religious wars in Europe and stuff that they were trying to get away from. So it kind of cuts both ways. It's like religion is often used by because the guy that wrote the stuff that Thomas Jefferson based Declaration, like he did the missionary work to the Indians and stuff. Like he said that the reason for separation of church and state was not to protect the state; it was to protect the church.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that. And I've seen that in Europe. My dad is from Iceland, and a few years ago I was actually able to get Icelandic citizenship. They had some program for children of native-born Icelanders, and you just had to go through some process to get it. So I've been there many times. Was there almost every other year growing up. Spent the summers with my grandparents, and yeah, the state and the church need to be separate, for sure, and it's for the sake of the church, for sure. Uh, I but not just the church. I do think it's also for the sake of people, although maybe it is for the sake of the church in that sense. I guess it depends on how you frame it. Here's one of the prime examples. You get all these people that are leaving Europe for religious freedom. They're trying to flee these religious wars, and they're trying to not be forced into a variety of religious beliefs, practices, whatever that they don't adhere to. They come here, and within a generation, they are already persecuting one another, just like was happening in Europe. So the state of Rhode Island, I didn't prepare this. This is just us talking, but I'm fairly certain if you look this up about the state of Rhode Island, I think I did a report on this in like middle school or high school or something like that. The state of Rhode Island, that state came into being. Roger Williams, I believe, is the guy.
That's the guy.
He was he was a Baptist, and he was living in, I think, Massachusetts or something like that. And they were basically going to, like, you had to be a Puritan or a Calvinist or like a specific sliver of Protestantism, right? And if you didn't, you couldn't hold office, you couldn't do all these other things. And so he goes to Rhode Island, he applies for some sort of grant of land or something like that. I forget the mechanism, like the actual process, but Rhode Island starts because of religious persecution in the United States by the very people who were fleeing religious persecution. Now, I think what we're looking at is not just religion at large. America was a smorgasbord of Christian denominations, essentially. And so in that sense, we are definitely far more. That doesn't mean there weren't Jewish people here. There's actually some history in Maryland, right? There's a plaque somewhere in a park in Maryland, some guy named Kennedy who fought for, his last name I think was Kennedy, but this is ages before, John F. Kennedy and the, Camelot or whatever. But he fought for religious freedom in Maryland so that like Jewish people could actually hold office and do business and something like that, where there were laws in Maryland at the time that said you had to be Catholic.
Yeah, that's the Sunday law. Because like I learned about this because I'm probably like 30% Seventh-day Adventist. Like,
still, huh?
Like my dad's Seventh-day Adventist, was a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. I grew up, and my wife is, and I still go to church with my wife and stuff. So, yeah, like the Sunday law, like that, like their whole eschatology is based on like there's going to be a mark of the beast, and then like so like they're really afraid of like the Heritage Foundation and like, but actually they're not. Like most of the, at least around here, because I live in a kind of a pretty conservative area, but most of them are like gung ho, like JD Vance and stuff like that. But like the ones that are like Sunday law people that are worried about that, like anytime JD Vance or the Heritage Foundation or says anything, because there is a thing in Project 2025 to advocate for having Sunday as a national day of rest, and that there would be accommodations made. But the issue is, like, if you're Jewish, like you have to take off the Sabbath, which from the Jewish perspective is Saturday, but then you're not allowed to be open on Sunday. So then you're like, your whole weekend's like down. And it just, and we'll find some way to screw it up.
No matter what we do. No matter what we do. So that's so we talked about just like waiting, right? Just shut your mouth for 48 hours, 72 hours before responding to anything that happens in the news. But also, you're bringing up another point. People suck. Like, people suck so bad. You really don't believe people suck enough. Like, it's not possible for you to believe people suck too much. Like, you definitely have an overly inflated sense of human accomplishment if you think any one of your political ideas or any one of your political leaders are like, the bee's knees, to use something that died with, I don't know, the 70s, 60s, maybe. Woodstock. Nothing that we do is ever going to truly fix things. I mentioned Iceland. There is something about having a national rhythm, a cultural rhythm that rests. because we as Americans, we do not rest enough. It's hard to rest. Even when we're resting, we're not doing it very well. And because we have just this chaos going on all over the place, because it's a free-for-all, essentially, right? It's hard to actually slow down without feeling tremendous anxiety about slowing down and not being productive. I see a lot of issues culturally with the values of modern America that make this, I would say, very unlikely to happen. But man, it would be nice to have a rhythm of rest, a ritual of rest. But, we got so many different religions here now that it would end up being a ginormous poop show to try and make these accommodations. And even if we did it, it would end up getting screwed up. This is, all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. We cannot put this world back together again. We cannot. It just, this is why you need Jesus first. You need to remember that in the end, we are waiting for Jesus to return and make all things right, to set everything in perfect alignment with the creator of the universe and with the people that are a part of this creation. Until that happens, we're just going to be like, we're just banging our heads against the wall. We're just struggling, swimming upstream, fighting against the grain, and we're just trying to make the best of the giant poop show that we've got, the bed that we've made. We've made our bed. We got to lie in it. So,
that goes back to the Reinhold Niebuhr thing. Like, I didn't know this, but he did the stuff they say in like 12-step groups or AA, like, grant me the courage to change the things I can.
Serenity
the
prayer,
wisdom. Yeah. Like, and then at the, like, there's a longer part at the end that says, so that we may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy in the next life. So it's like these 12-step programs, like you're actively doing stuff. Like, if you don't do the steps, or if you don't do the work, you're not going to get the reward. Cause like Paul said to Timothy, like, the Olympians struggle and strain for us, a medal, but we struggle and strain for, so it's like, there's like sort of a paradox there where it's like, we do struggle and strain for trying to make a better world, but at the same time, we know that the outcome is not in our control, and that, we try to do our best, but don't become like crazy about it.
Yeah. So I just pulled it up, the extended serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever and ever in the next. Amen. That's, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome.
Awesome. And who wrote this?
Reinhold Niebuhr. Like he's the conservative version of you, and Bonhoeffer's the liberal version of me. So like Bonhoeffer went nuts and tried to kill Hitler. Because like they always say, like they always say that Bonhoeffer was a martyr. I'm like, was he though?
Yeah.
like he tried. Like I understand, like it morally justified, sort of. Like I guess it is, but yeah, I don't know. Like it, but like.
You try to kill somebody
yes,
that's trying to take over the world. I mean,
that's not really a martyr.
Yeah, you bring a good point. Stephen was a martyr. Stephen stood there and said,
yes,
God is condemning you, right? He told them the story about how they keep screwing up. Jesus is a martyr in a sense, right? I mean, he is the one for whom martyrs sort of become a thing,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the word martyr, I think, is witness, actually, in the Greek, right? Something like that. So
yeah,
witnesses of Jesus, Stephen and Paul and Peter and so many others that died, martyrs' deaths. And
yeah. So like my dark side is Dietrich Bonhoeffer, where he just like he's fighting against something that he believes is wrong, but he makes that thing that he's fighting against the ultimate, putting it over God, and forgets that his duty ultimately is to God and not to
the state.
making the world the way he wants it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Hitler.
It was
So there's a
Hitler.
conundrum. There's a conundrum.
It was Hitler. Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, as a pastor too, like, wow, could I be?
yeah, like that's like this James Tallarico guy, like Raphael Warnock also, like for a pastor who has a public platform to become a senator is like a super demotion. Like we got like enough senators. We don't have like Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Like once they become a senator, then it's like, well, I don't trust anything you say now because you're not a pastor anymore. Now you're a senator.
Mm.
And it's like before you could like, proclaim things that were wrong or that we should as a society. That's what Dietrich Bonhoeffer was trying to do. But then I guess he gave up and he wrote Cheap Grace and said, like, you guys are all fakers. So I'm just going to try to kill Hitler.
Yeah. Well, that is interesting. You know, I don't think I could make the move from ministry to politics like that. I mean, we're kind of doing it because we're wading into it a little bit, but for the purpose of doing, I think, what you're
Yeah.
saying, like, hey guys, let's remember that there's something far more important than any of this other stuff.
Yeah. And
And
like they don't have any more authority to talk about it once they switch to that other job.
yeah, all the more reason for us to keep doing this, to keep having these
There you go.
conversations and pressing people. You know, if your politics, like, there's one person on Facebook I'm friends with who I know from other places. Like, we don't live in the same place right now. We're part of a congregation together at some point. Both Christians, as far as I know, still. And generally speaking, this was a very kind and compassionate person who understood, kind of what I was trying to bring to the ministry that we were part of. And now I can't even look at the posts. They're just like, I sort of want to respond, but what I want to respond with is not really helpful in a sense. And it's not even because I disagree necessarily with the assessment of our president or any of the other issues or players in the various controversies that sort of get in this person's craw, but just the endless, just absolutely endless string of complaints and nastiness and, like, swearing now, like, just outright public, which, I mean, I'm from New York. I mean, it's not like I haven't heard this stuff before. You mentioned J.D. Vance earlier. His grandmother is portrayed in the book and in the movie very, very salty, right? My grandmother puts her to shame in the salty category. Okay, so it's not that to me is wrong per se. I mean, we should try to speak in ways that are building up, and the Bible has a lot to say about that. But it's just like, what kind of person did you turn into? What has politics transformed you into? And in that particular situation, I think it's someone who got stuck at home with COVID, had a lot of comorbidities that ultimately led them to be more isolated. And I don't think they ever got out of that. Meaning, so like for us, COVID was barely a thing in Louisiana. you know, we had Governor Edwards during the first part of that, but then ultimately we got a new governor, and the Governor Edwards was a Democrat, and so he was much more interested in slowing the spread, flattening the curve, all this other kind of stuff. Very more of a left-leaning Democrat approach, but it was in one of the reddest states in the country, so he wasn't able to do as much as he might have if he was in, say, New York or Rhode Island or Massachusetts or something, or California. So it was almost like it didn't happen here. We were so weirded out when we got here because people were just like, oh, whatever, it's just the flu. But I think this person, it's almost like they never got out of that. And I
Yeah,
think
like
that you get stuck in the doom loop, right? The algorithm has
yeah,
trapped them. I don't know if you've
yeah.
seen.
The movie Eddington is really good. Like the guy who made it is like a liberal guy, but he interviewed like conservative like sheriffs in the town of, I don't know if Eddington's a real town, but like he just interviewed them and he made the movie based on their perspective.
Mm,
So like if someone's liberal, like I just say like watch Eddington maybe if you can stand it, and like see like what it was like from their side, because he was a liberal person making the movie that tried to like make the best argument for them that he could, of just like the inconsistencies and things of it.
mm,
Like for me, like at first when they're, because they had like where they're like stacking bodies and like dumpsters and stuff, it's like you don't know, it's like how bad is this going to get, like so
yeah.
I understand the I understand the immediate reaction, but then like doubling down on it, and then like Fauci lying, and so now like that I'm having this with my own, personal life, of like people not believing the government about health related things, and it's like, well, he was lying to on them, and like
Yeah.
so, like once you say it's okay for us to lie because they're too dumb, they won't listen, it's for their own good. Well, you like they'll never listen to you again.
Exactly. And that's what I think. I don't see, if you're a liberal watching this, I think you are going to have to come to grips with the fact that we may be taking a hard right turn and it may not stop anytime soon. And Mike, you just outlined a lot of the reasons. There's been such a deterioration of trust. I mean, it was already happening in general, but COVID, you cannot look back. If you look back at COVID and think that basically the government did the best job they could, then you're a fool. Like, they didn't, I mean, yes, they did initially, but then, like you said, they doubled down and they just kept treating the public like they were idiots. And we have access to far too much information now. It was untenable. And then you add on top of that the whole, like you said, would you call Biden like a walking corpse or something in the White House, and the auto pen and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, I laugh sometimes watching news
Yeah,
reports about a
yeah,
variety of things from the mainstream legacy media, and it's like, no, I don't believe that, and why should I? And by the way, I lived through a period of time where I learned how to spot when you are absolutely full of, like just an example. I was in the Northeast at one point about maybe a year ago, maybe it's year and a half, last summer or the summer before that. And very Palestinian Jew issue, right, like that, the war and everything in Gaza, and there was this news piece about a fire at a synagogue in, I think, New Jersey. You know, lots of Jewish people in New York and New Jersey, in that area, you know, the New York metropolitan area. I grew up on Long Island, a lot of Jewish people. Most of my friends were Jewish growing up. Like, there's just a lot of Jewish people and a lot of synagogues. And this synagogue had a fire. It was pretty significant. And the reporter is on scene, and they're telling the story about it and how it started, like where it started and how it spread, and you know what the investigation is right now. And this, they concluded with authorities have ruled out arson as a cause. You know, because what are they trying to do? They're trying to downplay the anti-Semitism that has in fact been rising, and now we're even seeing it from conservatives, right? They've ruled out arson, and then they like do a quick screen cut to like somebody else, and they say, as far as the actual cause of the fire, authorities are still investigating. And I'm like, how in the hell can you say you've ruled out arson if you don't know what the actual cause of the fire is? Then you haven't actually done the investigation, and you can't rule it out. You're only ruling it out because you're trying to convince people that there isn't anti-Semitism when there is anti-Semitism. Like, just because you don't want to ruin your Free Palestine protesting and all that kind of stuff. That, you know, so you're once again undermining your credibility and your ability to ever do anything ever again for the sake of what? I don't even know what they were winning with that. It just boggles the mind.
Well, it's just you don't trust people in general to like have a brain, like be able to sort out which, to be fair, like
yeah, it's like, not like it's
lawyer,
wrong.
Yeah, because I watched some movies where like it'll be like a teenage son that's like it looks like he did it, and the dad will be like, well, just tell the truth and he'll be fine. And the lawyer's like, that's not how this works. So,
yeah.
So it's,
persuasion.
Yeah, it's just, you got to turn it down to like a reasonable, I mean, each side's going to try to, it's like in baseball, like the catcher will like move his hand at the last second to make it look like a strike.
Yep.
Like each side's going to do that, but you got to have some kind of sense of the strike zone. There's going to be like,
we're way off the strike zone. Way off the strike zone. And one of the things that sort of really pushed me over the edge, like you sent me something earlier today from AP about immigration, and I always have to catch myself because I think AP and Reuters are complete garbage toilet paper rags for news agencies. And the reason for that is because they have done so many things that I know are clearly wrong, that have nothing to do with politics, right? So when Elon Musk was doing Doge and everything, which I know was, I mean, I don't think Elon does everything right, by any stretch of the imagination. Somebody sent me something the other day about, I guess, some layoffs he did shortly after he sort of got back to the office after Doge. And it was just cruel. Like, it was not cool. Like, oh, deliveries were down 20%, so we're just going to cut 20% of the staff. We don't need them then. And people, driving up to the booth to get into the facility with their car and their badge not working, and that's how they found out that they didn't have a job anymore. Like, that is not great. That is terrible. That is awful.
Like you kind of know that going in. I mean, that's why
with him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because it goes both ways. Like, you could be like rewarded and go like way higher than you normally would. So that's something they say with kids. Like, if the dad is like all over the place, like kids get used to it and they know like that's just way that, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I understand what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes. I'm just trying to say I know that he's
Right. Yeah.
not a
Yeah. Yeah.
perfect person. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you have stories run by Reuters and AP and other news agencies, New York Times and others, where it's patently false and they run it anyway just to disparage a man that they no longer like, that, and where ultimately, like, there was one uh, in the midst of that or shortly after the whole Doge thing where the Tesla, the company, actually came out and said, we were, I don't even know if they were contacted by the agency, but they caught wind of it and they reached out to them and they were saying, like, hey, just so you know, like, this is not true. This is not what's happening. This is what's happening. And then, like, we told you this, and then you didn't even include it in the report that you did reach out to us, or that we did reach out to you, or we did answer you and we told you
Yeah.
this. Like, at least you should say that, even if you're going to
Right.
write the article in a way that, like, and they have done that so many times. It's unbelievable. The full self-driving technology that Tesla has is so good. I have a Tesla. I didn't get it for any political reasons. I wasn't trying to save the world, the planet, or civilization, or get Elon elected, or or his.
Yeah. I feel bad for all the liberals that bought one.
Yeah, they have these stickers sometimes, where it's like, I got this before Elon went crazy. Like, on the back, some of them have like a fake Toyota emblem, or a way that
Uh,
they like take off the T for Tesla and they put this on, or they put this over it so it looks more like a Toyota symbol. It's just terrible. But they had this thing running, like, I don't know, a month or two ago, about how, Tesla's full self-driving is garbage, like, it's 10 times worse than a human driver. Look at how many accidents they had in the month of January. And if you look at those accidents, like, those are the headlines going everywhere. You look at every one of those accidents, they were all 4 miles per hour or less, and none of them were with other vehicles where they caused it. It was like another car hit
yeah.
them, or they hit
Yeah.
a pole
I've read
somewhere.
that where you have to factor in how bad human drivers are.
They're way, way bad. But these stories just proliferated.
Right.
Why?
Right. Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
still some lingering resentment for Elon. But I would also say the number one ad buyers on most TV stations are the traditional automakers. They
Oh
hate
yeah. Yeah.
Tesla.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
Tesla
Yeah.
doesn't do any advertising, right? So
Right.
you see, once you start to see it, it's hard to take any of them seriously, ever. It's
Now
just,
I will say that I would like to be able to buy a Chinese electric car because I hear that they're awesome, but they will not be allowed here because of the deals that Elon's made.
well, maybe.
I don't know if that's true.
I do hear that they are the closest real competitors to Tesla, but there will be no American industry. There are no Ford and GM and Dodge, and those
Yeah.
companies will all be gone. They will be wiped out. Tesla might survive, it might not, if you let those companies in, which,
Yeah, that's true.
their government is
Right.
this is an
Yeah, they
America
can.
America
Right.
first
Yeah.
criticism is like, well, China at least knows that they're all for China, so they should be for China. Like, back your Chinese companies because you're China.
Right.
Why doesn't
Right.
America back
Well, that's
free
because
trade
we.
and free
Yes,
markets?
that's
Like,
because yeah, we lowered the dollar so everyone would have to use it, so we'd have like a way to strong arm everybody. But then it doesn't make any sense to make anything here.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so this goes back to your point earlier, right? Where we were talking about the Sunday stuff. Every time you try to fix something, you break something. You may not break it right away, but it breaks eventually because that's just what happens. Because this world is so terrible and so broken because humans are so bad. You know, you fix one thing and then you end up going in the other direction. Like the way I often talk about the swings in politics is if you go back to the 50s, the 40s and 50s, you get the McCarthy trials, right? You've got conservative, essentially, people and ideology running the government, the bureaucracy, the culture, academia, and Hollywood. The McCarthy trial, they're going after people in Hollywood. Like they're blacklisting people for being communists or communist sympathizers or things like that. And there may have been actual spies and whatnot. I don't deny that, but they got a little bit ahead of themselves. They got a little bit nuts. And what happened? You get the 60s, the most tumultuous time perhaps in American history other than the Civil War. You get, conservative people basically, fighting back against all these different things, fighting the wrong war, the losing battle, on the wrong side of history, all that stuff. You got people blocking integration. You got people blocking all of these things. And then, the 60s become this radical transformation of everything where by the time we get to today, you have the left owning government, right? Even Republicans were basically Democrats up until the early to mid 2000s. I mean, like we talked about that before. They were all kind of the same, right? They owned the bureaucracy, they owned academia, they owned the culture, they owned Hollywood. I think that what we're seeing right now is that all went way too far. COVID was an absolute disaster from their, looking at it from their handling of it perspective. Not that Trump did great, but he was booted, before you could really get a sense of things. And there was a lot of pressure and stuff. The culture, academia, college campuses just being these toxic places where you can't ever say almost anything that comes close to truth if it's not in line with the party line. You get the Free Palestine stuff on college campuses, and people just had enough.
The Palestine part's a little bit different, but yeah, I get your. I think I agree with you on the other stuff.
How do you see it differently?
Well, just like we view that as like a genocide. Not that the Palestinians are awesome and that Hamas is awesome. It just seems like war crimes and stuff.
Well, I mean, it may very well be, and I don't know if anyone. Yeah, it just becomes the team thing, like we talked about before. Like, well, my team likes Israel, so I'm gonna look the other way.
Yeah, like I don't have anything like I don't like Netanyahu, but like I don't really care about Israel one way or the other. I mean, like I would like to be able to go there to like see like Jesus stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't have anything against Israel. It's just like just like the war part, like the rules of engagement, and then like there is a thing with the where Palestinians are kept, where it's kind of like an apartheid thing, where like they can't get to the doctor. They have to go through like 5 or 6 checkpoints, and then a lot of times like they could like die by the time they get there because like you can't do that, But I get why they're doing it. Like they don't feel safe. So I
But this is the perpetual problem, right? Like here are this minority group that has been endlessly persecuted, and now they're in power. And it goes back to the quote that I mentioned in our last episode, this Alexander Solzhenitsyn quote, like where he realizes that as soon as he gets the opportunity to lord it over his captors, he will. And that's when I realized the line dividing good and evil runs right through the middle of every human heart. And so it's very easy for the oppressed to become oppressors. And if I would just say that if you are sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, or the genocidal, or the rules of engagement, all the things that I don't doubt that there is for sure some of it, maybe not as much, or maybe it's not taking into account the history, or I don't know. But if you are upset about that, I would say consider how you or other oppressed groups that you may have wanted to support in the past have, in some ways at least, become oppressors. Because that's ultimately what happens if you don't have a grounding force like Jesus, who was for sure the oppressed and had every opportunity to become the oppressor, in the sense that he is the Son of God and he's got all of the universe at his beck and call. Like I could, couldn't I call 12 legions of angels to come? And,
right.
But no, this is supposed to happen, and I'm going to just take it on the chin, right? You need that grounding force, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, to keep you ultimately from fighting for the oppressed to basically oppressing someone, because no one is ever the bad guy, the enemy forever.
Yeah. And a lot of the protests, like, probably are anti-Semitic, like not disagreeing with Israel does not make you anti-Semitic. Like, they do that. They try to make that's not but there probably are like protesters on the left that are actually anti-Semitic. So
absolutely,
both can be true.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to recognize, no matter what side you're on, that in America we only have two sides. So if we only have two sides, some of the really awful ideas and awful people in America have to gravitate to one side or the other, right? Like, they just have to. If you're on the right, you have to admit that there's racism on your team. There just is.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're racist. It just means that people on your team are racist. There are indeed white supremacists on your side, because the things that you believe, the ways you want to approach government and how government should work and operate, those are things that are shared by people who are white supremacists, And then on the other side, you absolutely have people that just want to blow this whole thing up. You have nihilistic people. You have people that just want to destroy America. You have people that are anarchists, that the communists, full-blown communists, the anti-Christian. They want to. They're there. They just are, because look at some of the things you say and do. Of course they are there. It doesn't mean that if you're on the left that you have that. It just means that they're there.
Yeah.
And as soon as you stop on your side, calling out your side, that is the moment when the evil inside you, so to speak, inside your group, gets full reign. And the same thing on the other side.
Yeah, right. Well, the only thing that's tricky for me is because it's like you guys always think we're like the left, like we would say, like, we're not actually in charge of the left. Like, the left is corporate, like, sellout, like Biden, basically, like Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer. Like, they don't care about poor people. They don't try to help poor people. I mean, they might do more sometimes, but like, it's basically like, we will give you enough so that you don't literally die in 6 months. So, like,
just so we can say we did something, but not actually have it
it's
cost
not really
us
going to
anything.
help you. You're still going to be in trouble. But we can say that we're the good guys. So that's where I think like some of the things I said on Facebook about them, about Schumer, Biden, Hillary, because Hillary's a woman, like really pissed off other people on my side. And it's like, okay, but like they suck. And what do you want me to say? They suck. They're terrible. And so it's like, yeah, it's just like we have to come together to try to help people that need help and try to rein in the people that are hurting people. Like that's what the government's for.
Well, it's a little
Not
late to.
necessarily, not necessarily like I'm not talking about handouts. I'm talking about like just policies that will reward good behavior and punish bad behavior.
So, I was before you even said it, I was already thinking of going down this kind of path, just from the perspective of I think we give government far too much credit. I think they have a platform. They have the bully pulpit kind of idea. They have power for sure and resources that we don't have. But I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding of the way the universe works, the way the gospel works, the way the Bible tells us the world works, that one person can make a difference. The kingdom of heaven is like a little leaven that a woman put into some dough and, kept going with it until it was through the whole lump. Like small is the path to greatness, is the path to big things. It's not looking for the big thing. It's aiming small that ultimately has the far bigger impact, I would say. And I think we forget that. I know I forget that. If
Yeah,
we,
Jesus. Yeah, like when he was with Pilate, like Pilate was like, "Don't you know who I am?" And Jesus was like, "Yeah, whatever."
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You would have no power unless it was given to you from above. And I think when we as people, like if we begin having these conversations and we begin saying things like, I have this really big concern for, prison reform, or I have this real concern for poverty, or, I have this real concern for, I think we still live in a country that for the most part would allow us the freedom to try and address those problems, or at least begin to alleviate it some way, somehow. And as we did that, I think we underestimate how the ripple effects of that the policy changes ultimately result from boots on the ground doing stuff. Politicians want to ride waves that are working. They have very little original ideas, certainly very few that actually work. They are looking for the things that they can get behind to get them elected. That's what they do. They're just eyes on the prize.
Yeah, that's the joke that they jump in front of a parade and say they were leading it.
Yes, yes. I would say local politicians, because I am pretty close to local leaders here. I think locally you get a lot of people that are a lot better. They're not. It doesn't mean they don't look for the photo op or they don't do, but it's more like
There's not as much incentive. Like it's not as worth it as much.
yes. And it's more like, well, this is what I have to do. I have to have my face in front of people. I don't necessarily like this, but hey. Whereas they kind of like it at the, it seems like they sort of like it, at the bigger level. But start small, start local, and you can do a lot more across party lines, so to speak, when you do that. If you're a Democrat in a Republican place, find a common cause that resonates with somebody that, you'd be surprised that they're not every conservative is is like the rabid, crazy MAGA that you see in your feed, right? And likewise, if you're a conservative living in a liberal area, you'd be surprised that there are actually liberals out there that would love to work with you on a cause that is near and dear to both your hearts. So, yeah, I don't know. We've talked for a while. We've beaten at least several horses to death. Oh, there's one still neighing. Boom.
Yeah. So.
Anything you didn't get to say because I was too busy talking?
Oh, the last thing reminded me of yeah, like I did that prison thing, and like it was all conservative guys. Like I was like that was when I was in my hating Trump days, and like there was only like me and one other liberal guy that were there, and it was like all conservative guys that like love Trump, and I was just like, huh.
Yeah. It's and actually locally there's a local guy who took down, or at least helped take down, a corrupt coroner, a corrupt sheriff, and who continues to sort of fight that battle of mass incarceration and just abuse of power by people in local leadership. That he's really got a
Yeah, that's the one scary thing with like local papers kind of going under. Like there's nobody to report on that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I'm done.
All right, sir. Well, hang in there. Great to be with you. And if you've been watching, like and share and subscribe and all the things, and let us know what you're thinking about our conversation. And if there are specific topics that we can talk about that would be more helpful, let us know. This is a book that I put out a couple of years ago with a friend of mine named Bruce, Open Arms, Connecting People to Jesus. People need Jesus. That's the way hearts get transformed, and I think we need a lot of transformed hearts if we hope to get anywhere. You got some children's books also. My wife and I kind of, how do I do this backwards? There it is. Oh. There it is. How long did that take me to figure out this weird? So, yeah, there's children's books that we put together. They're Tales of Nola. You can always make a contribution to openarmslidell.org, openarmslidell.org, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
Sounds good. See ya.